¿Qué onda? Thanks for watching Doing Life with Jenny. If you're new here, in June of 2023, I moved from St. Louis in the US to Mexico to the state of Hidalgo. I've made a few videos about what I love about Mexico and why I wanted to move here, but today I'm telling you why you shouldn't move here. In no way is this video meant to be negative or critical of Mexico. If I didn't love Mexico, I wouldn't be living here, right? I just wanted to make this video for anyone that's considering moving to Mexico so they know what they're getting themselves into. I try to make content on my channel that is unique from other YouTubers living and visiting Mexico. And these are some things that for the most part I don't think anybody else has talked about. Number one, you should not move to Mexico if you don't have a very, very flexible job, or if you do not have a partner who has a very flexible job or is already retired. Why not? Because in Mexico, you have to be very flexible. For example, if you order something on Amazon, they do not leave it sitting in front of your house. You have to be home to accept packages. If you give them permission, they can leave it with a neighbor, but otherwise you have to be home. And if you are not home, sometimes they call and call and call back to back, despite if you're teaching a class and the phone starts vibrating. Because don't you know you're supposed to be at home 24/7 when you're expecting a package? I'm gonna move a little bit because the sun is always right there making me squint. By the way, if you can see the white powder on the ground, that's ant prevention. It is not poisonous. It's diatomaceous something earth. Another example is a gentleman was wanting English classes for his daughter, and I gave him the few days and times I had available then. At the moment, I have no availability. Saturday was not one of the days I mentioned, and it was a Saturday when I was texting him. He's like, okay, I'll be there in about an hour to discuss it. Excuse me, sir, no? Who says I'm home? 2, I just told you Saturday is not an option. 3, I most definitely didn't invite you to come talk about this. Like, obviously I wasn't gonna have him come to my home, but he wanted to meet up in an hour. I didn't ask, he said. Why? Because they expect you to be free 24/7. Another example is that CFE, the electric company here, is only open from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. So if you work 9 to 5, if you work 8 to 4, you are not making it to the electric company to get your electricity turned on when you move here, or if there's some kind of problem and you need to go up there. No, you're not making it. I'm not going to elaborate too much on the next one because I've made some videos about it, but everything is going to take 5 times long as it should. You're going to have to make 5 trips to the bank or 5 trips to the electric company to make any kind of transaction happen. So if you're working a typical 8 to 4 or whatever, you don't have that kind of time to make several trips. You barely have time to make the first trip if you can make that one. And these are just not one-offs. I'm saying this because it has happened time and time again, where people just say they're on their way. For example, my neighbor is building next door to me, so we were sharing some documents so we didn't both have to go through this hassle. And she said, hey, I'll be there in about 20 minutes. Not only did she not ask if I was home, if it was fine if she stopped by, she told me she was coming. I told her I just got on the combi to go to town, and she still came anyway. I told her I wasn't even home, and she still came. So I know everybody knows that in Mexico they tend to run late. They have that idea of mañana, tomorrow, which means the next day or the following day or never. But I just wanted to give you a feel for what that really, really means. Into a little bit more detail, it takes 3 to 5 times to get anything done at the bank or the water company or electric company or wherever you're going because of the lack of organization. They will tell you you need X, Y, and Z. So you take X, Y, and Z, you get there, and they tell you, no, you need V, X, W, Y, and Z. And then you come back with that, and they tell you, oh no, it's not here, it's somewhere else. If you think I'm exaggerating, go back and watch my getting my bank account open and getting my car permit renewed. And the last example I'll give you about this is I went to buy a mattress, and they said they were going to bring it right away, which was fine Because obviously if I'm there at the store, it means I'm free, I'm not at work, right? So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, no, how about we say after 4 o'clock just to be sure. It was about 2 o'clock, even though I told them I was going straight home. So what that means is not that they're coming at 4 o'clock, it means you need to sit at home all evening and wait around for them to come. There is also no kind of notice. I spoke about this in my Teaching English in Mexico video, where I specifically asked, for example, if there was school on Day of the Dead, and they said yes. So I was ready to walk out the door, and suddenly they said, oh no, there's no school today. Also, someone might say that they're on their way. They are most definitely not on their way. When I quit the elementary school, since I didn't know it was my last day, I left my whiteboard and my posters. So I had another teacher grab those for me so I could go get them from him later, or I was happy to give him gas money if he wanted to swing them by to my place. Can't tell you the amount of times he said he was bringing them. And the one time he was actually bringing them, I was asleep. And he knew. I told him, hey, I have to be in bed by 9 o'clock. I have a class at 7 or whatever it was the next day. Nope. It took me 2 weeks to get him to bring me my stuff. I even lied and I said, tomorrow I need these to teach my class at 9 in the morning. Didn't even answer his text, didn't even answer my calls. So I told him, I missed out on money because of you, because I couldn't give my class this morning because you didn't bring me my stuff. Like, I offered to go pick the stuff up. I offered to give him gas money for him to come. Nope, just nobody cares if it doesn't affect them. Next, do not come to Mexico if you do not speak Spanish or you're not learning it. I've elaborated on the topic a little bit in other videos, but 1, I just think it's very rude. 2, it's going to save you a lot of money. 3, you're going to come off as more confident and therefore less likely to be scammed. Next, unfortunately, don't move to Mexico if you are disabled or just generally weak physically speaking. Mexico is not at all disabled friendly. You will not physically be able to maneuver. The sidewalks will just randomly have trees in the middle of them, or won't have like the little ramp at the end to get on and off the sidewalk. If you're visually impaired, I wouldn't feel safe like using a cane or a guide dog to navigate, because that's how poor the conditions of like the sidewalk or lack of is. Literally, you can be just walking on the sidewalk and suddenly there's a hole. Not like a pothole, like a hole on purpose, with no kind of warning that there's a drop-off. Also, if you're already prone to being a little sickly, the food sanitation level here is not the best. Again, I'm not trying to be critical or judgmental, I'm just trying to be informative. But if you eat food on the street or even at some small places, they literally have these like little plastic containers and they fill it with the meat or the vegetables or whatever, and it sits there outside all day without any refrigeration. In most cases, they will rewarm it on your tortilla or gordita or sope, whatever you're getting. In some cases, they put it on top of your tortilla cold. And this is not all places, but it is a fair amount of the street food or small restaurants. And it is common for people to leave their food out on their stove. Like, they will cover it with a lid overnight and think that it's fine to serve the next day. I've seen this at a restaurant, folks. I've seen it firsthand several times. And I would also say, if you have any food allergies, be very, very careful. They are not used to that. And you might tell them you're allergic to onions. And so they'll say, oh yeah, there's not any onions. Either 1, to get the sale, 2, because they're just ignorant about it, or 3, because maybe they think, oh, I didn't dice up any onions and put it on here, but they forget that they cooked it in salsa, which contains onions. So if you have food allergies, be very, very diligent. Another reason to know Spanish, which I mentioned in another video. And lastly, do not move to Mexico if you plan on working for a Mexican company. 1, the hours are horrible. Most people work Monday through Saturday, only having Sunday off. The work day is also a little longer, maybe 8 to 6. I have somebody I know that works 9 to 7, Monday through Friday. Why? Because they have a 2-hour lunch break at his job, which I know is part of the culture in some Latin American countries, and Spain is to have like the siesta at lunchtime. But that means you're getting off at 7 instead of 4 or 5. Okay, where were we? I just took Sammy to get his bath, and then I went for my haircut. She left some cream in my hair. I'm not sure if it looks just wet or dirty. And also, it's not convenient to live in Mexico if you're earning in pesos and living in pesos. It is convenient if you're earning in dollars and living in pesos. Not that you can't get by or be well off earning in pesos. Even if you have a wealthy job like a doctor or an engineer, it's not like they're bringing the equivalent of $3,000 a month home. Tangerine Travels did a video on like average incomes. If I can find that video or do a Google search, I'll insert it on the screen, like the average salary of a doctor and an engineer here. The sun is back. To share some of my friends' experience, I have one friend that's a college professor, and whenever he comes in, he has like a key card he has to swipe on the door. If he swipes even 1 minute late, he doesn't get paid for the entire day. So he might as well just turn around and go back home. So like, let's say there's a wreck and like traffic is not moving, you aren't getting paid for the day. I have another friend that works at a factory down the street. I've only been here for 7 months now. In those 7 months, there's been twice that she's told me, maybe it's happened more, where they haven't paid her. But anyway, again, I love it here. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of all of these things before making a big decision. If you would like to see more content about living in Mexico, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Adios!